Okay, hello everyone, my name is Dean. I'm part of the Press Pass Studios for my third year in illustration at the London Metropolitan University. On the 1st of December 2015, I, along with other students from our studio, took a visit to the Imperial War Museum in Kennington. The reason being was to view the unofficial war artist exhibition currently displayed there. The artist exhibiting his work was named Peter Kennard. The image you're viewing here is of the front cover of the exhibition's handbook, the unofficial war artist handbook. It contains various works which are also explained in great detail in the print. I'd highly recommend you buy that as well. They're still going on sale at the Imperial War Museum, and I'm assuming at various bookstores. It contains the various works that Kennard has on display at the IWM for the unofficial war artist exhibit, hence the name Unofficial War Artist in the book. I actually have bought a copy for the Press Pass Studio, so help yourself to a gander if you like. But I digress. So back to the exhibition. Before I go into the chosen image that I've decided to interrogate as required by the brief, just thought I'd point out that this image was taken by one of our studio's own, Kaiser Dabruska. I don't know if I pronounced that right, so Kaiser, I apologise if I've got that wrong. But I've actually iterated really wrong there. The piece that I've chosen to discuss with you isn't a single image, like most of the space exhibited, because I found it hard to digest what the other singular images in the exhibit had to say. But this isn't to say I didn't get the point. I just didn't feel challenged by the works exhibited in other parts of the exhibition. Therefore, the piece I wanted to discuss with you is this, a combination of Kennard's photography and collages, aptly titled Boardroom. The images within Boardroom relate to wars such as Vietnam or Iraq, and even extend across the parameters of the Cold War. What I found really striking and quite profound about Boardroom is that it is it's completely opposite of the standard display seen in the rest of the exhibition. Pardon. The placing of the work is cluttered deliberately to give the viewer as much to see as possible in such a cramped space. The room that you're seeing is very small. It was probably about, I'd say, maybe just under half of the height and width and spacing of this studio that we're in right now. I did have an image of this on my camera phone, but it was shot in a panoramic view. But I really don't think that image gave it. Didn't give the proper display justice. Hence why I'm using Kaiser's. Excuse me. Hence why I'm using Kaiser's image here. Moving on. Along with the imagery sorry, I'll start that again. Along with the imagery of Peter Kennard's work, I noticed there were several numbers attached to the prints and photographs. Now, I was admittedly confused at first to what they represented, and initially, I just felt this was, Kennard's way of being clever. Just thought, yeah, that would look nice like that. But no, actually, there are distinct reasons why these numbers are dotted across the exhibition. Upon closer investigation, these numbers were actually figures of some really concerning and, quite frankly, controversial statistics noted in regards to the most recent conflicts. For example, the 0 here you are seeing now, for example, is a figure representation of how many WMDs, of course that's short for weapons of mass destruction, so you're talking about biological, nuclear, continental ballistic missiles and such. 0 weapons of mass destruction. 0 weapons of mass destructions. I apologise there. 0 weapons of mass destructions were seized by coalition forces during Operation Iraqi Freedom, the US-led invasion and occupation of Iraq. WMDs, by the way, were the justification given by George Bush, the then President of the United States, to invade Iraq in the first place. Kind of brings me to my next point. In Boardroom, there were several business cards that several sort of like business cards that you hand out to people that actually bear the name of several different American-based companies. I'll be honest, there were other companies there such as Eurofighter, Saab, BAE Systems. I think I saw as well. But the majority of these cards were from American military arms trading companies. Lockheed Martin, for example, are known for developing the Trident missile, which is Britain's nuclear deterrent. It's its nuclear weapon as well as the means to deliver the MERV warhead. Like the numbers, I was uncertain why these cards were displayed. Again, thinking it was just a way of Peter thinking, oh yeah, this will do. But I was actually seriously wrong. The numbers and the cards actually form together to form a very controversial sequence. Going back to the numbers earlier mentioned, this is another figure. That is 402 billion, for those who didn't know. Just consider this. This number provided by the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute in 2013, the top 100 arms producing and manufacturing companies, should mention, this excludes China, as no information is provided. The top 100 arms producing and manufacturing companies sold $402 billion worth of military hardware. The business cards added to the exhibition were from companies that were included in this total. So companies like Lockheed Martin, Saab, they accumulate this amount of profit just by trading arms alone. $400 billion in revenue. If you do the math, that is $55 per every person, 7.3 billion as of 2015 on this planet. $55 per every head that walks on this planet. And we wonder why we are stuck in this huge gap between rich and poor. But that's just going off into another tangent. Ultimately, I should also mention at the start here, there was a name drop in the bottom left. I Take My Hat Off to You, Sir, by Banksy. I'm just going to go back to this image very quickly. There are people who think the current situation in Syria, where we're supposedly defeating Daesh by means of an aerial campaign, will stop them. In fact, it's very hard to consider that. When we think about our previous engagements in that part of the world. Operation Iraqi Freedom being a great example of this. Started as an aerial campaign, and it landed us into an 8-year-long conflict with many British, American, French, NATO troops killed in action. The reason why this is so effective for terrorists like Daesh, or the Taliban, for example, is because every Western soldier they killed, it gives them much more credit. Whereas, for every terrorist that we kill, it's seen as martyrdom to them. But what's even more concerning of this, I digressed a bit there, but to just formulate my point, even more hypocritical of our own government is that there are companies within the UK that are selling arms to both sides of the conflict. They are selling arms to countries which have had unanimously appalling human rights abuses. This is including Israel, who in 2014 killed over 1,500 Palestinian children during its absolutely brutal attack on Gaza in that year. London Arms Fair 2015, also known as DSEI, received heavy protest by Banksy and several associates towards its run-up. If you were clever enough to notice, several protest posters were planted across the London Underground network, including on its trains and various bus shelters, that highlighted the atrocities committed by authoritarian and totalitarian regimes buy weapons sold at the DSI and then exhibit battle-tested weaponry. Protests were cleverly disguised by use of parodying already current advertising campaigns, the above being a spin-off of the Britain is Great campaign to boost tourism within the country, so no one would notice unless they took a second look. I'll choose this as an example as a comparison to Kennard's work because they operate on both ends of the anti-war spectrum, in my opinion. Kennard displays his protest fully. It's out there, it's in your face, the statistics are there, whereas Banksy kind of chooses a more surprising method. It really relies on the person to really look at, as you can see here, it requires his audience to really look at the piece and think. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you. Any questions? I've got to stop it here. I can't do it. Oh, no, that's not the right one. There we go.